yeah.
Do I have a water?
No. I will.
Are we on?
Yep.
How am I supposed to just... Very good, thank you. Okay. Hey, everybody. Oop. How's everybody doing? All right, looks like we have, if you guys could give me a thumbs up here on TikTok that we have volume. We have some audio and we have a visual. Thank you so much. And same thing on YouTube. You guys could give me a thumbs up letting me know for sure. Can I also have a pen and a paper towel? All right. Let's give this a second for a few people to tune in. But in the meantime, want to make a couple quick announcements. So some pretty exciting stuff going on here. We have the last few days of the tier sale. So the tier packages for Ivy Rivera Psychic Medium and the Ivy League Psychic Academy. These different packages I designed for the holidays give you all kinds of options on how you can mix and match different readings and classes and products, and even be entered to win an entirely free psychic mediumship course, which is at a value of, I think, $2,500. Thank you. So if you guys wanted to take advantage of any of the tier packages, they do, the sale expires on the 1st. So check that out. I also wanted to announce, due to high demand, we've decided to extend the registration for the December Psychic Mediumship course. And what that means is it is back up on the website. And so you guys can go to, is that the Ivy League or do they go to Ivy Rivera? Okay.
They can go to Ivy League, psychicmediumshipcourse.com, and they can get there through Ivy Rivera.
Okay, so just go to ivyriverapsychicmedium.com and it'll take you through if you want to jump in for the winter session of the Psychic Mediumship course. Now, if you guys wanted to get on the early bird wait list to ensure your seat for the spring class, that's also open at this time. And I believe we start April, is it 22nd? I'm just making that date up. I don't know. Don't listen to that. But it's definitely in April we start. Also, I am doing another taste of psychic mediumship, which is a 100% free. You could do it virtually or you can come and do it in person. Psychic mediumship class. I have never offered this before. We did the very first one, I believe, in October at the grand opening here, something like that. And it was huge. We had over 550 people. It was insane. And again, you can attend from wherever you are through Zoom, or you could do this in person, but you are going to want to get your foot in the door and get yourself on that registration list. So for that, it's called A Taste of Psychic Mediumship. And you go to ivyriverapsychicmedium.com. Is there anything else I was supposed to announce? Looks like we have a few people tuning in. Are we good? Okay. So I do want to invite you guys, if you are here on TikTok, should you have any trouble hearing me or seeing me, you may want to switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy. Also, if you want to check out all of the previous free mini classes, I've been putting out 1 to 2 free mini classes per week since the pandemic hit. It's called the Quarantine Series, and they're here on YouTube at Ask Ivy up in the playlist under mini classes. You guys can also now, if you like to listen on the move, anywhere you can download a podcast, Ask Ivy is up there. So is Roots Revival Interfaith, our church. So you can listen to sermons there as well. All right, very good. So welcome, everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino airwalk, and I own a school called the Ivy League Psychic Academy, where I train people internationally, online, and now we are back to in-person sort of, depending on how things go with COVID. And I want to welcome you guys to check out different classes. I train people in everything from psychic mediumship development to numerology, tarot, astrology, Reiki, meditation, paranormal work, empathic work, you name it, we do it. We train children as well as adults. And of course, I don't do that all myself. I have a whole team of teachers and helpers here. So if you guys are tuning in tonight, what you've got is one of the free mini classes I've been doing since the pandemic hit called the Quarantine Series. And tonight we are talking about spiritual awakenings and paranormal attachments. Now, I'm excited to get into this because this is one of those topics that rarely, if ever, gets discussed. And there are a lot of people out there who want to be spiritual teachers and leaders and lightworking gurus, but they don't want to talk about the difficulties. They don't want to talk about the negative or toxic aspects of tapping into your intuitive intelligence or having a spiritual awakening and the things that can happen that are dangerous. It's detrimental that you understand the process and how to protect yourself. What we want to do when we're having a spiritual awakening of any kind, or we have intuitive intelligence, we want to use it for the highest and best good. And without being properly educated on the negative aspects, it's really impossible to do that. So when Spirit said that this needed to be a topic for a class, I was actually really excited. I love this topic. And what we're going to be breaking down here today are three different aspects of this. So spiritual awakenings and paranormal attachments. Why do they happen? Okay, what does it look like when it's happening? And how can you prevent it? I do want to ask everybody at this time to give this video a thumbs up. Please like it, subscribe or follow. And if you want to become a member for all kinds of extras, including a behind the scenes monthly Ask Ivy show, you can hit that join button. You guys give this video also where the bell is, hit the bell and you'll get notifications whenever I go live. I do encourage you, all of my classes are interactive. So I encourage you as we go to post your questions, your comments, and donations are always appreciated. Paul will be taking your questions and comments. How are you, Paulie?
Great, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
You hear the cats running around?
The cats are going crazy every time the cameras go on. They just want to be part of the action. Yep. Hopefully they won't knock anything over. If something happens, you know why. It's not paranormal, it's them. Okay, so let's talk about this. Spiritual awakenings and paranormal attachments. You know, it's hard to address the negativity in a lot of situations in life, but especially when it hits on such a personal, private chord. And so when we see things like paranormal attachments or possessions, heaven forbid, we start to get into the medical field. We start to talk about being mentally unstable. We start to talk about serious health problems and diseases and a lot of stigma that comes along with the paranormal activity from our upbringing, you know, like religion, for example. And it is something that we, especially here in our American society, are so fear-based about, and we are so obsessed with anything spiritual as being of the devil, leading to all of these toxic issues I just mentioned, that all the blame basically goes on whoever is in the process of having a spiritual awakening. And that is a really shameful way of looking at things, because the reality is that we live in a patriarchal society built on colonization. So we have roots, we have spiritual systems down to a science in our past. However, so much of that has been wiped out, and it was, you know, even illegal in many cases, right? Look at natives just being unable to practice their dances until the late 70s and things like this. So we know that we had, through those old ancient systems of wisdom and knowledge and spirituality, through our roots, that we also had protection there. And when colonization took over, all of that was wiped out, and all of the power all of the answers, all of the protection was put in the hands of the Catholic Church. And so if you do anything outside of that system, you're feeding it. You are toying with something demonic. And the reality is that everyone goes through spiritual awakenings. You can deny it all you want, but everyone's a psychic, everyone's an empath, everyone's a medium, and everybody goes through spiritual development because we are spiritual creatures having a human experience. So that's a given. And to disempower ourselves by denying that it happens, or to put ourselves at risk for things like paranormal attachments and possessions by being fear-based and uneducated due to these toxic programming systems is really, really unwise. And sadly, that type of energy is contagious. So if you even have people around you who are fear-based and egotistical and believe in that toxic messaging that spiritual development is demonic, you are prone to picking up on their toxic energy as well. And those that are uneducated are, you know, the number one group of people to be attacked, which is ironic because, you know, they want to say that those of us that get educated and enlightened are feeding it, but it's actually them that ends up with the biggest problems. So today we're going to be talking about this education and what it really means, how it can happen. Now, the reality of the situation is that anytime we have a spiritual awakening, you know, we are automatically opening up to everything in the universe. It isn't just the spirits in the light. It isn't just high level energy. We have to kind of earn that, I would even say. And I don't believe that humans are innately good. I believe that we have to work on this all the time. We have to be mindful and put in effort. And so even though a spiritual awakening will happen voluntarily or involuntarily, usually involuntarily, it doesn't really come with an instruction book, okay, on how to tap into that high vibrational energy. So when you attract everything to you, negative and positive, lower and negative energies in the universe that we will call here today paranormal or low level, for lack of a better term, you are susceptible to having those things latch onto you, attach to you, and possibly, if it were to get very bad, become a possession. So we could say that having a Kundalini, getting a download, having a leveling up, having a spiritual awakening, while everyone says that they want these things these days, it is a blessing and a curse, and it should be taken very seriously and managed accordingly. So we need to be realistic and talk about all of it. All right. Now, I want to talk about the different ways. So 5 different ways that this may happen to you. Why does it happen that you attract with your spiritual awakening all of this negative energy? So number 1, and Paul, if you could please put this in the comments section, Fighting the Dark class. Okay, it is a free mini class here on my YouTube channel at Ask Ivy. So Fighting the Dark class talks about the 5 different ways you go under attack or you have blocks and obstacles hit every time you're leveling up in life. So you're going to want to get that extra education on this. Okay, so number 1. Most of us who are truly called to light work, it's in our life contract, our Vedic or Western astrology, it's in our numerology, or we're called here to earth to be healers for others as a full-time like ministry, a lifestyle. When that happens, we're typically born into some very toxic situations. Maybe you were born a marginalized person, LGBTQ, something else. Maybe you're a minority. Maybe you're Hispanic or you're Black or you're Asian. Maybe you were born into a family with abusive or neglectful parents, or you have a parent who's a narcissist or an alcoholic or something like this, okay? So typically us light workers, us healers who come to do this full time are born into difficult circumstances. And the battle begins at birth, and we kind of get it from every angle in life. So society, you know, the educational system, our parents, whatever it is, and it can cause for us to suffer greatly, mentally, emotionally, physically. And with that level of trauma, we also have to be realistic that usually comes from a generational curse. So we have a mini class, Paul, if you could put that in the comments, on generational curses, which are not a real thing, but trauma is. And the passing down of trauma and toxic habits and toxic mentalities to younger generations most certainly is. And so that's what we're talking about here. That means that if you're born to light work, you're born here as a healer, you are probably taking all of that on. And by nature, that type of conflict is something that can cause you to tap into low-level energy, drug addiction, escapism, avoidance, mental health issues, lack of resources, and you could very well find yourself attracting paranormal activity. So it's sort of like if you are born to feed the light and to heal the world, you're going to have the biggest battles on your hands. All right. And again, I just want to say everyone is here on earth to heal other people. We're all here for that. But some people are called to a higher degree to do it. And you would typically see those challenges. All right. So why else do spiritual people battle paranormal activity? So number 2. When you have a kundalini, a level up, you have a spiritual awakening, you open up energetically, you open up spiritually, you evolve, and you're tapping more into your life contract and your calling. You attract everything, not just high level energy. And when we decide we're going to ignore that we're attracting low level energy, we become really susceptible to it getting a foothold. And that low-level energy is highly motivated to prevent you from tapping into the light. So we have to be realistic that with every awakening we have, we also have battles that come with it. And those battles that are happening are, if they're coming from dark energy, they are coming to break you down, to cause tremendous harm to you if they possibly can, and to others around you. So we do have great responsibility to protect ourselves. Okay, number 3. Another reason this is common is because there's no education on it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to be a spiritual leader. Everybody wants to be a lightworking guru. Everybody wants to be a pastor or reverend. Everyone's got the reverendship. They're free online and everyone, but nobody wants to talk about any of this. And the church for so long pretended like they were the only solution. But if you've ever seen anyone with a possession, if you've ever dealt with anyone with an actual haunted house or they need an exorcism, good luck getting the church involved. Okay, where are they? By the time they get there, it's usually too late. So there is no one really out there talking about this, and at least not to the scale that we need to see. And it is another issue in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years where we've seen a lot of these so-called lightworking gurus wanting to say that there is no dark energy, that everything within the law of the universe, right, is based on light. And that if you're attracting anything that seems negative, it's you're the problem. So like just basically ignore it and it'll go away, that it isn't real, essentially, which is ridiculous. There is no way, if you have even the lowest IQ, okay, you could look around the world and see evil all around you. Like, a lot of people are murderous. They're monsters. This is normal to be born into this. We don't talk to our kids about it. We don't talk about it in spirituality. It's even in this sort of like these new age, spiritual light workers considered like super taboo. Like negativity does not exist and you're feeding it and you're at risk if you do. So we don't have enough education, and without being educated, we can't protect ourselves. Okay, on that note, Paul, if you could put in the comments section also the free mini classes that we did on 10 Sides You Have a Haunted House or on paranormal attachments and possessions, okay? That would be helpful. Thank you. All right, so we also find that with a lot of these so-called spiritual leaders, that even when they do know this paranormal toxic negativity exists, they're not skilled enough to deal with it. And so they will deny that it's there. And I would say this, for any of you who are trying to go out and start your own ministry or your own like business in light work, if you don't know how to deal with that, you should probably not be in that position yet. Or if you're still in denial that it exists, you should probably not be helping people to open up to it. Okay. Because that's what spiritual evolution does. It opens you up to being susceptible. So watch it with that. But yeah, there is a lack of skill set in dealing with it. So I always say to my students, I'm not going to steer you in this direction. You will be educated on discernment. You will be educated on low level energy just as much as you're going to be educated on high level energy in the universe. But those that are called to do paranormal work, cleansing, it is a certain calling within itself. And we have additional training for those people separately. And that I just think that's how it needs to be, to keep everybody safe. Let's talk about number 4. Okay, why does it happen that with your spiritual awakening, you are having paranormal attachments or possession? It could happen because you're rushing your spiritual development. You are level jumping. You want so much so fast. You are crusted with every crystal under the sun. You're obsessed. You have, these all over your house. You spend all your money on it. You are going from one certification to another certification, to another book, to another training, to another shamanic journey, into another cave to do mescaline or whatever. You need to settle down. There is a natural flow and process to everything in the universe. And it is rarely at warp speed, especially this. And that is an easy way to end up with a paranormal attachment or possession, because you are pushing so hard that you are essentially manifesting and asking for anything. And when you manifest and ask or claim from the universe from a place of ego, fear, control, greed, neediness, you attract negative, not positive, not high, but low. And so you could say that negative spirits are just waiting for an opportunity for you to get greedy with your spiritual development. Okay, so settle down, slow down, and be thorough on what it is that you're trying to tap into. All right, and number 5. A lot of reasons this happens is because it has become a fad to tap into these shamans and go on these journeys and to explore through, these even shamanic drug use. And, while I think there is absolutely a place for like psychedelics and shamanic journeys and healing journeys, all of that, mushrooms, whatever, there's a place, but it isn't from that greedy, egotistical, needy, spirit junkie attitude that I just discussed in number 4. So when people go on these shamanic journeys, right, they often believe that whoever's leading it, that person like sets a tone, and that if they're taking drugs, this person is going to be sort of leading them. Okay. So it's sort of the equivalent of anyone who used to do acid or, a mushroom trip or whatever. You would say, oh, well, somebody's kind of leading it, or you have someone sort of helping you. That's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Then that person's energy maybe will be great. But it's still going to be about your energy. No one can take you anywhere. No one can dictate what you're going to attract to you. That's based on your energy. So it's fine to have people around, but you're not guaranteed a safe trip or journey, and you need to make sure it's in the right time. All right. So we also see that, yes, there's an increase in like these trips, this drug use, these mind-altering states to get up to higher levels of consciousness. That's not really new. The level of shamans out there leading these journeys, that's what I'm saying is new. But another side effect, and this takes us back to number 1, where I mentioned coming to Earth as a light worker or as a healer usually means you're going to be born into a toxic family situation or a difficult societal dynamic. You may be marginalized or something like this, abused. when we grow up like that, we tend to have escapist and avoidant tendencies, which can very easily, for many of us, highly spiritual and empathic people, lead to drug use and alcoholism and things like this, just to escape, not only to escape the trauma or the pressure, from society, the toxicity and the negativity, but also the side effects of being so intuitive, the side effects of being so empathic that you carry the weight of the world on you. You feel disempowered, and intuitive intelligence, psychic, mediumistic, empathic ability can make you feel like you're losing your mind. And that's backed. You'll have therapists who will tell you you're losing your mind. You have doctors who will misdiagnose you. You're being told that it's something bad. So we want to escape that. And we think that by using or by drinking, we're going to shut it off somehow. And we know that never works, but it's a hard cycle to get out of. Okay, so that's what we have time to talk about as far as why does it happen. 5 categories today. Let's move on. Again, I want to encourage you guys to post your questions in comments. We are going to move on now to, what does it look like if you're having this problem? And then we're going to move on to some solutions. Donations are appreciated. Again, if you guys are having any trouble on TikTok with your commenting or hearing, switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy. Okay. So Paul, I'll get the questions from you at the end. I want to keep going for now. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So what does it look like? If this is happening to you, maybe you're not sure if it's happening to you, how would you know you now have paranormal problems due to your spiritual awakening? Well, a couple different things. I don't have time to get to everything today, but you may feel depressed. You may have developed depression, like a low-level depression that leads to a lot of isolation. You start to feel as though you can't connect to people anymore or reality anymore. Now, I don't want this confused for the typical evolution that happens socially when we become more spiritually evolved, because most people do go through a dark night of the soul. Most people will find that they no longer connect with the same social standards scene that they once did. So that's normal, but this is not. Okay, this level of depression and isolation, feeling really, really lonely, even though you're surrounded by like-minded people. That's not normal, okay? Right, another sign is paranormal activity following you. So it could be like every house you move to has paranormal activity. It could be that wherever you go, you have paranormal activity following you, a certain level of toxicity, and feeling like, especially, at night, you have somebody watching you. Maybe your hair's being pulled, you're being scratched, you're waking up with bruises. Weird noises. Again, see those other classes Paul put in the comments to learn more about the type of paranormal activity I'm talking about. But it's dark, it's menacing, it's unhelpful, it is not from the light, and there is no doubt about it. But it's with you wherever you go. Another sign is paranoia. So if you start to become worried that the other shoe's going to drop, that the winds of change are coming, that something's wrong. I always say about us psychics, especially my young students that come in, I call it Chihuahua syndrome. We're like always nervous because the psychic mind sees the end result. So something's coming. Or maybe because of your spiritual awakening, you know that there are spirits around you, but you can't decipher between the negative and the positive. So you're becoming more and more paranoid. You may be paranoid also against like people who you used to trust, who don't intend you harm, but this paranormal activity that has attached to you is now trying to separate you, divide you away from your loved ones, not unlike what a narcissist or a sociopath would do if you got in a love partnership with them. They would try to divide you away from all of your family and friends so that you were isolated and they could better get their hooks into you to take you down. Anxiety may increase. You may develop what you think is some type of an anxiety disorder, but you can't find the triggers. And you may even seek some kind of counseling, but they can't help you find the triggers. It just comes, it goes. You don't understand why. Now, don't get me wrong. That is a normal side effect of mediumship as well. So we want to make sure that you have some of these other signs. Don't jump to conclusions. Anxiety is the number one side effect of intuitive intelligence, but I'm talking about some pretty extreme anxiety here that doesn't go away. and it's menacing. Okay, you may develop impulsive behavior. You may have breakdowns mentally and emotionally. You may feel a complete detachment from spirit. You may feel a detachment from light energy in the universe, which is really confusing because you went through the spiritual awakening. So why do I feel so detached? You may find that you are almost obsessively going after more of a connection to spirit because you just can't really get it right or reconnect. Okay, you may feel that your relationships are deteriorating. You may experience financial crisis, job loss, or inconsistency with your ability to keep up at work. Dizziness, numbness, tingling. Granted, this is a side effect of a lot of psychic and mediumistic ability, as well as empathic ability. However, when you're getting it and you can't connect it to those abilities, it's just coming out of nowhere. It's far more intense and it's more consistent. You could be looking at an attachment trying to turn into a full-on possession. So essentially the energy is trying to get in. Okay, so that is the dizziness. That's the numbness in the face and the mouth and the tingling all over your body. You may also get stabbing pains in your chest, your neck, your ears, your temples, a feeling of like a stabbing pain in your stomach, your guts, sleeplessness, nightmares, general confusion, and a feeling like you're not yourself, like you are completely out of control. Now that kind of pairs up with some of those impulsive behaviors I talked about earlier. Okay, so feeling like, who did that? I'm having like an out-of-body experience. I'm out of control. What is going on? All right, how can we prevent this? Let's move on. All right, we're going to talk about 3 different ways that you can sidestep this altogether, hopefully, or at least, if you already have it going on, to clean it up. Now, remember, you have to maintain it. Cleaning it up isn't going to do anything. It will come back. It is a guarantee if you're not maintaining it. And we need to be careful about the company we keep, because if you're trying to maintain a great habit, but everyone around you is toxic or feeding the problem, it's going to be really hard for you to not allow a reattachment in. So how can we prevent this? Well, the first thing I want to say is that you really need to not rush in your spiritual journey. Some of you are tuning into this and you're like, I don't. It just follows me. It stalks me. It's obviously a calling for me. I get that. However, there are other people tuning in who are going after it hardcore all the time, almost like an obsession. And you may feel inclined to turn it into a business. The minute you have a little bit of a spiritual awakening, you're like, I can make money off of this. I'm here to help others. I must give this out. I must reteach what I just learned that I don't even know how to walk out yet. You have to be careful with all of that. There are consequences to that. Okay. So you want good karma. You don't want negative karmic kickback from the universe. So slow down and stay in alignment with what your true calling is. Everyone's supposed to be having spiritual awakenings. That is the human experience. Does it mean you should be running off and starting a business off of it, or a ministry right away, or reteaching it? Probably not. The other thing is that we need to level jump in the books that we read, the conversations that we have, the classes that we attend, the certifications that we get, the meditational depth that we go to, these shamanic journeys. You need to allow for things to be processed. And remember, and a great way to do this is to look at the seasons. Look at the 4 seasons every year. Look at how much time that takes. One season takes months to fully develop, and one will lead into the next. And if you're not allowing for your higher mind and spirit to show you what it was really all about, you're just going to move right on to the next lesson. And it's almost like backup. Okay, so slow it down in general. We should also, this seems obvious, and I kind of already said it, but avoid drinking and drug use. Now, I know a lot of people aren't going to like to hear this one, but drinking and drug use is the #1 gateway for paranormal attachment, which can lead to possession. You can argue with me all you want. It's a fact. I work with it every single day. So if you want to keep using, that's on you, but don't encourage others around you to do it, and be very careful if you are, that you haven't tipped into that dark energy, because you are inviting it in, whether you like to believe that or not. And a lot of people will say, well, if you use it properly, even if you use it properly. No, it's not, I have good intentions. You know, I have great intentions when I get behind the wheel of my car. Every single day, I plan to live. I plan to not kill anyone else. I plan to not run over a squirrel. I have great intentions. Does that always happen? Not necessarily, because I am sharing this universal space with many other energies, and that does affect me whether I want to believe that or not. So I live in that illusion when I get behind the wheel. I'm also hopeful and really careful and taking ownership of what's happening in every moment. Okay, so get yourself help, okay, and avoid it. But you also need to remember that there are certain tribal ceremonies, and there is a certain level of drug use that can absolutely help you to become more enlightened. And I am a firm believer that some of those experiences will change you to the core and for the rest of your life in a really positive way. So I don't want to rule everything out entirely. You're going to have to use your discernment in that. Okay, so, and that leads us to the last one, which is discernment training. All right. Now, it's really hard. If you were to look at, you know, a dozen different psychic mediumship trainings, not to toot my own horn here, you know, but if you were to look at a dozen, I bet most of them aren't training you in discernment. I bet they cost a fortune. I bet they're helping you to open up your gifts and abilities in Pandora's box, but they're not teaching you how to maintain it whatsoever, which makes you toxic to yourself and to others. Okay. So they're looking for that cash. It is a slow process. You have to get properly educated. And I'm not just talking about people who want to go out and become healers or readers. This is for everybody in our everyday lives. We have to get trained in discernment, learning between the difference between negative and low level energy in the universe versus high level positive energies in the universe. And it's not just about spirits. It's also about people. You know, who was ever taught as a kid, unless you had great parents, to watch out for negative people? You know, even with, we see with a lot of bullies, there's a lot of blame on the innocent kids. Well, you should have been nicer to them. You should have sat with them at lunch. People don't want to be polluted with that negative energy. You know, a lot of people who do terrible things in the world, you know, we're guilted to believe that we should have helped them in some way, instead of setting boundaries, calling it out, being more strict on saying this is unacceptable. And so we have an explosion of toxicity and negativity in our world today. So more of us need to be trained in discernment from childhood, and we need to start practicing it on our fellow human beings straight out of the gate. So everything in the spirit world is going to pretty, I almost want to say like, it will mirror what we see in human relationships and human nature. And you can count on that. Okay, do we have questions or comments coming in here?
Yes.
And are you taking these from TikTok and
Yeah.
YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Are they going to pop up?
Yep.
All right, let me get my glasses. Okay, well, I hope this is helpful for you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I love this topic. Okay, so we have from Jessica Hacker. This is such a great topic. I have basically been awakened, but am so nervous to open up Pandora's box, so to say, because of the fear-based society I live in, and they would view me as crazy, right? So one of the things I talk about, especially on my TikTok at Ask Ivy and with my students, is that we want to change the verbiage surrounding intuitive intelligence. We want to normalize intuition, and we want to decolonize spirituality. And so things like crazy, if you are intuitive, become a thing of the past. And of course, we have a long way to go, but we have to start here with us. So yes, you don't want to be labeled as crazy, but the truth of the matter is it can get far more dangerous than just someone calling you crazy. You could go to a doctor or a therapist and be misdiagnosed as psychotic, especially those that are having spiritual awakenings, because a lot of the side effects look similar, and you put on medication and you're misdiagnosed, and you can find yourself stuck in those patterns for quite some time, if not hospitalized. So it is dangerous that we live in this type of environment that labels it as crazy or mentally ill. Okay, but good for you for having awareness about your awakening, Jessica, and don't feed it with fear. So that nervousness is just making it worse. Don't feed your spiritual awakening and the beauty of your intuitive intelligence with ego that comes from all of that around you. Join us, stay on with us, and know that you will get the tools and the help that you need to help yourself and others. Hope to see you at class. Okay, so this is in regards to possessions and attachments. Okay, just a phase 24 says, my pastor straight up said, it's real, but I don't know how to help you. I then went to a metaphysical store and a reader helped me. Okay, good. So yeah, you kind of have to, I don't know what exactly your pastor, I'm sure your pastor is more within some traditional religious faith. But yes, you have to go to someone who understands it, and they typically don't, because it's out of alignment. So you would have to go to a reader, a healer, an energy worker, a medium, someone who gets it. All right. I'm glad you got the help that you need. Then we have from a Jill Vin 5 Mustra. Can a learning disability be mistaken by a spiritual awakening? Well, a lot of people who are very skilled in their intuitive intelligence and accuracy have things like dyslexia, learning disabilities, Tourette's, anxiety disorders. So I could see that. I could see, yeah, definitely. Most people who come into a spiritual awakening, especially kids who develop with their empathic ability up at the 3rd and the 4th levels, they get misdiagnosed as having ADD or ADHD or adult onset ADD. So it is common, yes. Lisa 001011. Where do you start with your spiritual journey and keep safe? Here, that's why I'm talking about it. So it's called Psychic Mediumship Course. You can go to psychicmediumshipcourse.com, or you can go to Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com. And you might want to book a life contract reading with me, and I could talk about what it looks like you're ready for, or a spiritual session, spiritual counseling, where I talk about what abilities you have and what you should be using them for if you want to get more specific on how to go about this. But that's what we do here. So stay on board and check out the websites. Okay.
Similar here.
Another one from, Emma, just Luca 30. How would you know what classes are best for you? Well, you would either want to book a reading with me where we can talk about that, maybe do a spiritual life coaching, do a life contract reading or regular reading. I would always recommend that you talk to your spirit guides, in particular, your joy guide, who also watches over your spiritual development and your mental and emotional well-being. But then you also want to talk to your work and money guide. Your work and money guide oversees your life contract. So the two of them collectively would be really great at sort of leading you to what you should do next. Try not to look too many steps ahead. Just what should I do next? And then do that, and then the rest will be lit up before you. Okay. How do you talk to your guides? See the Meet Your Guides class up on the website. What I always tell everybody, like a tick, you guys hear me say this, every class, every week, every church, every Ask Ivy, sit with your guides for 10 to 15 minutes in silence and ask them a question and wait for them to tell you, and then just journal it out, whatever they told you to do. But this will be interactive. They'll put things and people on your path. Okay, we have another one from Jessica Santana. I am worried. I closed my door to being intuitive. Well, if it were only that easy. You can close the door all you want. Everyone, especially in America, has closed a million doors. And so that's why in the psychic mediumship course, I'm basically removing all your blocks. All your blocks, they've got to go. They've got to go. Training from your parents, training from your educators, training from the medical, training from big pharma, training from the church, training from the patriarchy, capitalism, blah, 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 colonization. It's stacked, you and everyone else, right? It's just stacked up against us so that we can't tune in. We reach a point where we're just experiencing disabilities and illness and discomfort. We can't really tune in. And even when we do get something, we don't really know what it means. We don't really know what to do with it. We're really not sure it's accurate. And then we have no discernment. So yeah, we've got problems, but you're not alone. So, the course will walk you through that, but you have to go through a program that doesn't just try to force Pandora's box open. It also removes all those blocks, shows you where they were and, where they came from and how you can prevent that also from happening again.
You mentioned Meet Your Guides earlier, and we have one coming up live next Monday, the 3rd of January, 7 p.m. Eastern. You can head to ivyriverapsychicmedium.com or ivyleaguepsychicacademy.com, either or, and register and hang out with us and hang out with your guides.
And hang out literally, because as long as you're vaccinated, right now in New York, we're still doing in-person, small groups, set apart, of course, but we are finally back to in-person. So yeah, you can attend Meet Your Guides next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern through Zoom, live interactive, or come here to the 1800s Victorian Funeral Home, the new headquarters for the Ivy League Psychic Academy. Come check the place out and join us. We've been having a great time with the classes. I think we've only done like 2 up till now, but if you guys can't attend at that time, it's a video download. It is always up on the website. So check out the Meet Your Guides class. Absolutely. And let's not forget, people, that your protector guide comes to Earth to help you with these exact issues. Okay. So be in touch with your protector guide every day at all times, and they will show you what to do. They can't always step in and do it for you, but they can help you fight this good fight. Do we have any questions, comments? We are at time. What is next week's class? No. So next week, because now I'm doing these bi-weekly, next week, Wednesday, is Ask Ivy, where I take your personal questions. You get free readings. I deliver messages from Spirit. So that's going to be Wednesday, 8 p.m. on TikTok, 8:30 on YouTube. And you guys make sure you subscribe and hit that bell, because I will be posting another class later on this week. All right. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Spirit. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. See you soon.